Okay. And we're still having some technical difficulties with the owl, but it's if you guys can understand me, I think we're just going to go with it. Is that okay, everybody?
Yeah, I think I can hear you. You're a little garbledy and the screen's breaking up and all that stuff, but it'll work.
Look at this.
I'm gonna reset the owl one more time. I'm not quite sure what's happening with it, but last time I turned it off.
It's nice to threaten that kind of thing with a pitcher of water. You just hang it over there and say, listen,
Really?
get your act together, or you're going to be drowning in this water in about 5 minutes.
Okay, so we're back on the owl for speaker, and we'll be back on the owl video. And everything's gonna be good for a couple of minutes. It's all working perfectly. Right, that's good.
That's
All right,
good.
And we're still recording, that's good, so we have proof of what's going on. I think the first, well, first of all, I want to thank everyone for showing up today. I don't know, okay. Appreciate it. So let's get right into the agenda here. The first item on the agenda is to review the minutes from the February 18th meeting. I emailed those out. Appreciate Catherine as always editing for me. That's corrects my English today. And so if everyone can take a quick look at it, or if anybody hasn't looked at it, or has everybody looked at them yet? Have any changes?
No.
I will about a minute here.
One.
Catherine, when you're done, great. And Eric,
Yeah, they're good.
all right, so we're gonna say they're okay as written.
Yep.
All right, so next item on the agenda. Actually, let's move around the agenda in case Terry comes in later.
Yeah, he was the one who said, oh, I think we should meet in March and in April.
Let's go down to item 4, the Lake Wyola Dam Study Committee. And Erica, I think it's has anything happened that we know about, need to know about, or should know about?
Well, first of all, I sent out a thing yesterday that sort of looked like what I sent to the select board. Did everybody read that? I get that. I think I sent it out yesterday, replied to one of your emails and attached it to it.
I didn't get that.
I did not either. I didn't. Yeah. I didn't
Really?
either.
Well, there you go. So much for technology. This committee and technology, I don't know. But well, we basically made the recommendation to the select board of, or I sort of summarized what we had, which was the parking spaces and the north entrance and the south entrance having gates on them, with the north entrance having a place for Howie to park, that the easement had to get either purchased or we have to buy the land or whatever, from the Zavrahua family. I left the fines part of it open because I've never heard back. I got to actually get on Kristen's case a little bit to see where that is, but because she was going to look up to see what other towns have done for fines for parking or being on the dam and so forth. And then I think I wrote up sort of a sample bylaw and sent it to Becky. I will say this, 2 things. One is because of the culvert project, which will happen next fall, in theory, hopefully, we can't really do what we want to do because we can't do we won't have the access to put up the gates and so forth. I mean, we can't do it. And that's one thing I would say. And the other, so I think maybe this whole project in many ways has to be delayed a year because of that. The other thing is, I will say that the select board has got a couple letters. We've definitely had pushback. I mean, not that we knew we wouldn't, but some people really, they really like using the dam, and they probably use it completely rationally, people that fish or swim or whatever. There are definitely people that have done things that are making it really hard for the dam for other people, because some people want to use it well, eat okay, and some people want to throw their kids into the lake and into the intake for the dam and whatever. So I'm just saying there's definitely pushback, and I'm not sure whether there's any way we can amend or should amend or think about amending our ideas. I don't know. I just will say there's pushback. We have a little time, obviously, given what I said earlier, but some people are very upset about it, that use the dam fairly responsibly and regularly. To just take a night dip or whatever, sit in the dam for half an hour and read a book or whatever they do. That probably is not well, as we said before. It's like you have to sort of ban the fishermen who are just sitting there fishing. If you want to ban, you have to ban everybody. And unless we thought anyway. Anyway, that's all I have to say about it. It's still a little bit of a confusing issue to me, although we've made decisions that we've sent on to the select board, who basically said fine, but as I say, there are these drawbacks with the culvert project that will make it so it can't happen anyway, right away.
So it sounds like the select board hasn't really taken it up and done anything yet.
We have not done anything. We did receive the report, and I think looked at the report favorably. I think that would be fair to say. But nothing has actually happened. I mean, that's to say, like some sort of easement or property purchase has to be negotiated with the Zavarhua family, and that has not happened. I mean, here's the other issue, that the sublaying issue to all this stuff is like there's just a lot of stuff going on in town, like all the PFAS stuff that everyone's probably aware of. Building the library and all the associated issues there, to say nothing of other stuff that's related to Lake Wyola, like the dam. Well, we now have the dam report, but the dam, the lowering of the water at the dam and the permits for that and so forth. There's just a lot of stuff going on. I have to say, to be honest, it's kind of floats down to the bottom of the list with all that other stuff going on. And that, but I'd say generally the select board was in favor of this, but nothing's, that's before we got all this pushback too. So that may affect people's feeling. I don't know. We haven't had a chance to talk about it yet.
Oh, but good enough. So basically, it's, I think as far as LWAC is concerned, there's really nothing else that we need to do for the time being. And that's just a matter of it's in the select board hands, and when something happens, we're just going to be here about it.
I do know that I told at least one person who was sort of one of the pushback people. I said, well, whatever happens, this has to be a bylaw, and the bylaw has to be approved at the town meeting. So, because he was sort of saying, well, is there any kind of recourse for people to talk about? I said, yeah, the select board is not going to unilaterally say this has to happen, nor is the Lake Wyola Dam Study Committee or anything. There has to be a process, and which will include writing a bylaw, which will include passing a bylaw at town meeting, and bylaws have to be passed by 2/3 vote. So,
So why does
pardon me?
Why does it have to have a bylaw? Why does this have to be a bylaw? I don't know if you can hear me, but.
Yeah, no, I can hear. Well, I think there's just a general sense that it's a bylaw because the town, I'm not sure what the legal, I mean, I think in order to like ban people from town property, you can't just say that. I don't think. I think the bylaw would just sort of give it more bite, if nothing else. It'd sort of say, we, the town, voted for A, B, C, D to happen. I think the idea would, I'm not sure if there's a legal requirement. I'm not sure. There's always been, at least in my mind, the sense that it should be a bylaw because the whole town should vote on it. I mean, at some level, it's like, I don't, as a select board member or as a member of this committee, I don't want to be telling people they can't go to the thing unless everyone thinks that's a good idea, or at least the majority of people do. I'm not sure. Go ahead.
Have you consulted Donna yet about that?
No, I know Dawn in the past opined that there's some, there are liability issues for the town. I know that. I have not talked to Donna, no, nor is the select board. As I say, there's so much going on. I don't think it's whatever. It's just a lot going on in town right now.
Or just Eric, Terry Smith, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And yourself?
While we're talking about the dam here, just for your information, I read the latest inspection report that was done by Mr. Root. You're probably in the middle of your town budget process. All of his recommendations for the work that was done based upon my professional engineering experience is that you might want to consider about $25,000 in the budget to take care of these minor repairs and the deficiencies that are noted in that. And I think it's important for the residents to consider that if we're gonna be spending money on the engineering and the wildlife studies and all of the reports that probably are being demanded from, you know, like something that you might do in Amherst, in Shutesbury, that those wildlife study that would be required for that should be the document, since it's been paid by the public and the town residents as the master document for referral.
Sure, before you go on, we actually haven't hit that item yet.
Oh, okay.
We talked about it on the agenda, I'm sorry.
Okay, it's all related though to the dam, so I'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so, let's see. Anything else on the study committee? I think you guys are all done your job. And it's up to the select board at this point. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to, I think I'm not opposed to talking to Dawn and asking her. I mean, my sense is that this does need a bylaw, but maybe it doesn't. We can certainly ask her and talk to her.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Well, so far the discussion here has been about the usage or not usage of who goes out there, who does what, but more important is the access to it. To Zaharua's property here. I would think you would want to talk to her about that. And
Yeah,
put that-
yeah, no, yeah. I
The
think,
whole issue is at the bottom of everything's going on, but that's above and beyond what we were talking about as far as the dam study, because
yeah, it's a
you guys-
piece, it's a big piece of the puzzle, there's no question about that.
it has more importance than, you know, I don't think how many people are gonna push back on securing access out there one way or another. About
Right.
people who push back that want to use it, they may find that they can't, right now they can't use it because you're going over private property. So
Right.
that is, with the people with pushback, it's kind of moot unless they get permission from Zaharua to go out there. Otherwise, how are they getting out there?
Well, they go down the conservation land on the south side there and go up around the spillway or however they do it. I think that's what they do. They may do
Yeah.
both. I don't know, frankly.
So that, when she talks about liabilities, you might mention that to Donna as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. Oh, I agree.
Have we ever formally, as a committee, recommended to select board or finance that they put an ongoing item in the budget for maintenance of the dam? I mean, it's gonna require every year something.
Nobody, I don't think we've ever, as a committee, recommended that, and I haven't paid enough attention to their budget to know if there, you know, if there is a dedicated item for dam maintenance. There isn't?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I do think that we're an advisory committee, a recommendation to start putting money in so that if major repairs come, there's some money that's put into the budget.
Well, even for all of the inspection reports that were so
Well,
kindly
that's what
done, and
they
saw
want.
how cheap they were done by Morris Root versus who will have to do them.
Yeah, those are all gonna have to be done, so.
So we certainly recommend the select board that they could, you know, do a monthly, an annual allocation for the day for the, that's.
Yeah.
It probably needs to be based upon my professional opinion, familiar with doing that, doing dam inspections, all of that, it probably needs to be somewhere in the order between $20,000 and $30,000 a year.
Yeah, I think I know I was talking with Becky about that yesterday, and that we were talking about the same thing. And one of the scary things in terms of the budget is I believe the Morris route number's been more like $2,000 or $3,000. And I'm not saying you're wrong about that $20,000 number. And especially if I guess we're morphing into that other topic a little bit here, but should I keep going, Mark?
Let's just wait, let's go back. I want to finish the easy items first. I think item 4 is all, we're all set with that. Does everyone agree? Let's go on to item 5 about the I guess I can give everybody a chance to say that they agree. All right, so let's go on to item 5 here.
I agree.
Yeah. Not that item out, but
Whatever it is, good.
yeah, Mary kind of given update on where the Concom is and that on the safety side of the boat.
So they had a lot of discussion about this, but finally came up with their recommendation is that we don't attach this to the kiosk, that we put in a separate pole and sign closer to the lake.
Really?
That'd be sign pollution down there.
And the only question that they had was, I sent them what we had for the thing, did we do a mock-up of what the sign would be? There, the same question we went around about the statement from, what is it, dawn to dusk or whatever that means. Does that mean in the other time people could do something different? But
No,
basically,
that's standard.
that's what I said, it's right up, as long as it's compliant with what's currently policy and regulation, their recommendation is they said, go ahead, and their recommendation is to put a separate, which actually came from Penny, who was the one that didn't want to do that to start with, but put in a sign, don't attach it to the kiosk, put it down closer to the road.
Perfect. That's
Go ahead and do up the sign and put it in.
All right, I'll go ahead and get the sign made.
All right, thank you, excellent.
Finally wrapped up one thing.
Well, you know what? Check out
Just before the generator's gonna kick on.
Yes.
Generator, it's past 9:20. Maybe someone changed it.
I don't know, between the generator noise and the idling police cruiser out there, no one could hear the doorbell as I was ringing it for the past freaking 15 minutes to get here to the plant. It was locked.
Oh.
I was knocking on the door and I walked around there and rang the doorbell. And the cruiser's out there. I said, okay, you better turn off the car because we're a green community and everything. Here, you'll be driving smart cars soon.
Let's go back along to the agenda, because I don't want to be done by 10, yeah, because Catherine has another meeting to attend.
You guys can go on with that.
Let's go up to item 3.
Yeah, we can't go on without your leadership.
Let's go up to item 3, which is the dam inspection report. Becky sent me a copy of it, and I cut and pasted the executive summary and sent it out to everybody. Basically, the inspection report says the dam's in good shape. It just needs some routine maintenance. And on the second page of the executive summary lists the items that need to be repaired, and kind of knew about this for a long time. And it's just a matter of getting the process started somehow. And making recommendations to the town, budgeting for it. I thought Morris thought the cost would be like $69,000. Was in that report. You
Well,
ever seen that? Tim?
Well, Morris, I didn't, because we only have the executive summary, but this was something that when Walter was here, these items, he thought that that these things, and we talked about it in previous LWAC meetings, that it might be able to be taken care of simply when he was involved, like, some of the grouting, the replacement of the thing, but reading what's on that list, I would think you could get through a public procurement process, you could get a competent contractor to come in here. I've offered to bring a couple people to look at the grout between the pipe and that's a low pressure grouting operation. That would be the most expensive and the spillway thing, but I would think that you could have a couple competent people put it out to procure it, and that it'd probably be around $25,000.
Okay,
With the exception of the seepage monitoring thing, which can't be done because of the conservation permitting, like, and that was something that Walter in the past was gonna try to coordinate with the contractor doing the culvert.
yeah.
Okay.
Have the equipment.
So that would be the only item that would be left, and that's on the downstream side, but all of the other stuff, the vegetation and debris. That's something probably the highway could take care of. The emergency action plan, that needs to be a licensed engineer that does that. Morris probably, maybe, hopefully could do it before he retires in June. Since he's familiar with it, but the horizontal leaks in the spillway, the patching, the deteriorated and that, the low pressure grouting is a specialized thing. You need to have specialized pumping equipment. And the guy that used to be able to come up here and grade the roads and stuff with his grader, who worked for the association before, Piapi Construction, has all of that equipment. He's more than happy to provide a quote and different things to try to and look at it, but he's not really a guy that's gonna deal with everybody looking over his shoulder, and giving them directions. But he'll probably get a really good job done. Town would maybe get a really good job done if he was to bid on the work. Or the company that did the dam repairs in 2008, I don't know if they're still in business. But they didn't really do the right work the first time, so why?
Yeah,
But there's Clark is a local guy, they're probably confident to be able to do that. It's just a low pressure grout pump you could rent. But, but I would say based upon that, you probably see a real number of like 25,000. With the exception of that seepage monitoring weird. Which that can't be done anyways, because the issues on the downstream side and the access of the property. Yeah. But everything else, from reading what I've seen,
comments, suggestions? I read the report, actually, did a nice job on that report, and, well, late, it took a long time. to get
Yeah.
done.
did we miss and I'm sorry again, because I've been locked out of town hall. I've been here about 3 minutes after the meeting. I was late. The doors were locked. I'm ringing the bell for like 15 minutes until a nice kind police officer come let me in.
I think that nice kind of police officer actually locked you out.
Oh, well, he said he was going out. That's probably why he's. Okay, so my question is have we touched upon yet
So we
item 2?
haven't started to yet.
Okay,
We're going to reverse order today.
oh, well, mine usually thinks in reverse order compared to others.
So back to the inspection report. Any comments? Does anybody want to see the entire report? I think I can email it out to everybody.
I'd like to.
Yeah,
see
I'd like to see it just out of curiosity.
All right.
But I just send it out there.
All right, so I'll send out the entire report. I like it. It's a very nice report.
Do we need to vote to make a recommendation to the select board that we could get a maintenance item on the budget, recurring maintenance item? Or can,
I would-
Eric, can you just take that to the select board and then Steve can come?
I think a formal vote by us would be.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I think that's a good idea. It's a good vote, just a vote that's a very general like that is a good thing.
So if you want to make the motion, I would second.
Okay, I move that the committee recommends the select board request a recurring line item for dam maintenance in the neighborhood of $25,000 per year.
I would second that.
Okay, discussions or comments?
So we're suggesting it's $25,000 every year.
It does seem high to me.
Yeah,
Well,
it seems a little high to me too. Given it's been zero.
we haven't touched what's gonna be required for the notice of intent and order and
Yeah, that's
conditions.
completely separate though, that's.
But that's related to dam maintenance and the operations.
Oh,
of the
okay,
dam.
if you're gonna include that, if I was gonna say that, I think what's happened is we've had Morris Root for years, he's done a job, let's just put it that way.
He's done
and-
an excellent job.
No, he's done
No,
an excellent job, a little on the tardy side, let's just put it that way, generally speaking. In any event, he's been relatively inexpensive. And I think that with the Endangered Species Act and all these things we now have to do, so when I was talking to Becky yesterday, I was sort of saying, like, it seems to me that we need to we have to have someone who's going to do the inspection because Morris is retiring. So we have to have somebody sort of on the radar or whatever to do that in a timely way. And we also need someone who's basically going to know how to do all these permits and stuff, which are kind of a new level of complication, it seems to me. I mean,
Well,
there's a chap. Go ahead.
Those things, Eric, they've always been there, but this committee in the past, through the graciousness of Howie and Mr. Rivers, Catherine, and Walter Tibbetts and stuff, it was kind of being handled on behalf of the town for free. The complexity of environmental permitting, I like to, if I had my way, I'd throw all them regulations away, make our legislature start fresh instead of revising them all the time. But bottom line is to keep this under the hat of one firm that can do all that have environmental professional wetland scientists. It's not to
Right.
try to fit out the different firms. No, because right, but I'm trying to explain that if you want to keep and you want to stay within a reasonable estimated, like if $25,000 is the number for the next couple of years to kind of get things in order, that's being requested and required by the state and to address the dam issues and all of that you bring in a firm that has the wetland scientists, that has the wildlife,
Right.
that has the engineer that can do everything that's gonna be required. Yeah.
Yeah, two aspects to it. One is the notice of intent and the drawdown and
Right.
then the dam inspections. That's the kind of thing that occurs every couple of years.
Yep.
And this time it's gonna be a bigger ticket item because, we're kind of in a rush to get things done.
Yep.
But then there's the maintenance items here,
Right.
which once these are done, I think it could be relative.
Right.
We only hear about it every 2 years because that's the report.
So I think we make the recommendation, the amount is irrelevant, it's a recommendation from us, they can decide to put whatever amount in that line item that they want.
And maybe
You
the,
know?
We're in the position to have some idea about
Yes,
what this is gonna
I
cost.
agree.
It makes sense for us to recommend
and,
an amount, at least for the.
and I think to have a big discussion about it, I think
And to-
25 is a reasonable
and to track,
recommendation.
Eric, just so you're aware, I zoomed into a Concom meeting and stuff and everyone else zoomed out, but I stayed. There's a notice of intent fee account that's from when people do filings that has a balance of over $10,000 in it that might be able to support the wildlife habitat study that's being required. People paid the fees from around the lake for permitting, having wildlife studies and different things done and stuff. It goes into account, and that's a source of the town to pay for something like that. And I would hope that, well, it's the town's account.
Yeah, that's conservation.
Yeah, but the thing is those fees are paid for and they're not to be sitting there. They're to be used for purposes just like this. Because my point in this is, my feeling is it's full support of having a wildlife study done. But if I'm a resident with waterfront property on it, I don't want to be told down the road after I've already paid for a wildlife study to be done associated with the dam, to have another wildlife study done of Lake Wyola, of the shoreline. So that document could be used as the public reference for the entire lake. Those fees that were collected and put into that account, a majority of them were probably related to all of the people, developing houses and stuff, which brings tax revenue to the town around Lake Wyola.
Okay,
But I look forward to, there's such complex engineering things going on in my town. And people don't, and they think they know everything and stuff. I can't look forward. I just took my voter registration cards for my whole family to move to Shutesbury and claim my residency so I can vote.
all right, so let's go back to the motion here.
Can I amend the motion to say not just maintenance, but inspection and maintenance?
I would second that amendment.
All right, item that's for inspection, which is biannual.
Yeah, biennial with the stamp.
I mean, I would add and permitting. I mean, I think we want someone who's gonna be sort of knows what permits we need and helps us acquire them. We're glad to do some of the work. But I mean, my sense is that's part of the issue now is there's so many permits required. I don't think anyone, Mel, I don't know, maybe some people in the Concom know what those really are, but I know I don't. And
So Eric,
everybody,
as a member of, okay. So is that a formal amendment to Catherine's amendment to add the permitting into the line item as well?
Yeah, I don't think permitting belongs in this item that we're
Yeah,
talking about. I think permitting is something separate.
I agree, because once the permit is done, it's good for 5 years.
Yeah.
And so we're off the hook for a long time. Probably through our tenure activity.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, and that's a good point because the other monies that might exist in other accounts could be used for any future permitting associated with it.
So I think, is everyone okay with let's say, motion to have the select board add a recurring item in town budget for inspection and maintenance of the dam? And we'll just we want.
We have to do a Zoom, because it's a Zoom meeting, we have to do a roll call name vote.
Yep, absolutely.
Yea or nay.
The question I have is we want to specify a certain amount of money.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do $25,000 for now, and the dollars be changed.
Right.
For next year.
Just a recommendation.
Yeah. Was it 25 or 30? I think it was 30. 25?
25 it was Catherine.
That's what I said.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's do a roll call vote. You know, any more discussion?
well, the only point I'd make about the permitting is that we're gonna have an inspection engineer, a new inspection engineer. And all I'm trying to say is that maybe that person's purview should be broadened a little bit so that they're also, I'm not saying we have to do permits every year, but when we do them, this person would know what we had to do. We don't want to find out at the last minute, like we're finding out now. Oh, well, we have to have this and this and that. Well, we don't know. We aren't doing it. And we're sort of caught in a bad situation here.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on right now with like some doc filings and things where you hire a consultant and then there wasn't a collaboration with the wildlife consultant in this and it's going back and forth. Now, these poor homeowners are gonna be faced with paying all kinds of consulting fees. So if you made that if you wanted to make that as a member of the LWAC representing the select board, I'd be more than happy to second it.
I think there's two budget items here.
Yeah,
There's
I agree.
there's the budget item for recurring maintenance and inspection reports. But then, and there's a budget item for the notice of intent permit. And I think we're all in agreement that it's not gonna be a person, it's gonna be a company. But that can do this, you know, the whole thing, and knows the permitting, knows what needs to be done.
Will there be any potential conflict of interest if that individual's involved in other things that are going on in town related to the Conservation Commission matters that exist elsewhere on town property?
That might be, but I think that's not for us to worry about. I think that's kind of a Becky thing.
Right, that's beyond the purview of this.
Yeah,
It's just a point of discussion.
yeah. I was involved in a discussion with Miriam and I forgot the lady's name, but it was generally felt that there wasn't a conflict of interest. And that if they wanted to use Emily's document, the town could. But that again is, you know,
That's for the select board report.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, and that's not what the motion is, so can we call the
Yeah,
motion?
so let's go back to the motion, so,
We were about to vote on that.
yeah, and so, let's go around the room, Catherine,
Yes,
Howard, Terry,
Yes,
Mary,
Yes,
and Eric,
Yes,
and Mark, is yes. So we have the motions passed, and we'll make that recommendation to the select board. I don't know how we actually do that, but we'll figure that one out.
we'll have a letter.
Yeah.
We'll mail it.
Okay. All right.
we make good progress.
So, now, let's go back up to item 2. We've already kind of talked a lot about, so Terry suggested, or the question I think is there anything LWAC can do to help this process along? Does Becky have it all under control? Does Becky need any help? And I think Terry suggested that maybe we should help try to draft an RFP
I think so.
to help Becky out. Comments on that? Do we have the expertise to draft that?
so I mean, Becky said she would do it, so what has she been doing to work on this?
I don't know, but she's been talking to Eric about it, so maybe Eric, you can give us a kind of an update of what's going on with that whole process.
this is the process to have, I'm a little unclear what we're talking about here. That's just, can we clarify that?
All right, so this is the
You
process.
kind of broke up there.
Oh, okay, so this is the process of, the most urgent process right now is to have work done on the notice of intent, which includes a wildlife habitat evaluation, that's, I think those are the.
And this relates to just the annual lake drawdown.
You're right, that's correct.
My
So-
sense is that no RFP has been issued, and I think the general sense, again, I hate to go back to the previous item, but was that those two things would be sort of together. You know, you'd sort of say to somebody, you be the engineer who gives us a report, and we have to also do this thing, but we don't have to do it that way. But I think that's been the general thinking.
And I think everyone is in agreement with you on it.
Exactly, yeah.
That's the philosophy, is to find a company that can do the whole thing soup to nuts.
Yeah, the question is, has Becky been working on it? She said that she would take on working on it.
My sense is it's not done, if that's what you're answering. Whether or not she's actually been working on it, I don't know, but my sense, I know it has not, the RFP has not been issued. I know that. But we could
So-
sort of give her a little, whatever, put some heat
So
to
maybe
have that
that-
happen.
So maybe the role of the committee here, maybe our role is that if Becky's been the one tasked with this, is that before the RFP would be issued, that someone like myself, who's a member of LWAC, might have the opportunity to take a peek at it, just like the conservation probably wants to take a peek at it as well, before the RFP gets issued, to make sure that what everyone wants and expects from this, that there's like some uniformity between the various boards and committees in town, so that we're not dealing with everybody going different ways on this.
But
Like,
I don't think that we should be responsible for drafting.
no, I don't either, but
You know, I agree with reviewing it, but I
and
think that-
it's probably very easy to, it's probably, and again, it's probably very easy to speak with Morris through or someone, or maybe a firm that might, we have a short list of companies and stuff where they could just simply provide Becky an RFP for what they might have done for like the town of Amherst, or what they might have done for these types of services for towns and lake associations out in the Berkshires. We've been given that short list of firms that Morris recommends.
How about this one approach? I'll stop up the next couple of days and see Becky and see where things are, and see if she would like us to help. Get sample RFPs and start to draft for her, or just stay clear of it and let her run the whole thing.
I respect the Conservation Commission's role in this, but the mission and the charge that was posted, that's on as part of this committee for LWAC, involves everything related to the dam safety. That could be dam safety matters related to inspections, it could be dam safety matters related to the permitting, it could be that. It's all one and it's under the role and why this committee was formed. And that's why there's representatives given the opportunity from the other committees in town to participate on it.
We're still an advisory committee. We're not a policy making committee.
Exactly, and that's why the two have to be kept separate.
Right, but back to the suggestion that you ask Becky. if she wants to, And also you can find out what's been done and what's not been done. That seems like a really good idea.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Mark. That's a good idea.
And I'll stop up, but I'll just stop up and find her and talk to her about it.
If she wants us to do it, I would say, then we need a formal request or something to say that the committee's been asked to help her do that. Because otherwise, you're gonna go back to, who said you could do whatever, it's not your role.
Yep. It's a conservation.
That she
to
does
get back to
something,
us. Or the Board of Selectmen, so we're asking, and the Board of Selectmen gives this committee some damn responsibilities that always are under it, and as part of our mission is to, okay, how would the Board of Selectmen like us to participate or not in review or even crafting of the RFP?
All right, so. So let's going back to what I was going to suggest, let's check Justin. Oh, Eric, one.
No, I'm just scratching something.
So the idea is I'll go see Becky and just talk to her and say, you need help or you're, is everything okay? And, and my intention is not to take things away from her at all. And I kind of don't want to get involved with this, we really need to, but there is a sense of urgency here. And if we can move it along faster, I think it's in everyone's best interest.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, so I'll take care of that item. Okay, any more comments and discussions about the dam?
I did, not about the dam. Okay, on item
Let's
6.
go on, hold on, are we all set with the dam? Yeah, I think so. Okay, so let's go on to item 6. Items that we reasonably anticipate.
I'd just like to share something with the committee and there. I would appreciate if you could listen to this real closely. I have an existing simplified waterway license for my dock. Okay. It was issued to me in 2009. Okay, it expires and it was good for 15 years. So it expires in 2024. Okay. Pending all different types of things and executive orders and different things, I went and followed the process that I need to renew it because it's going to take a little time to renew. The feedback that I was personally sent an email from the Waterways Committee, who is the committee of authority over waterways license and docks and those sorts of things, was in 2019. There was some changes. And there was some executive orders issued, which doesn't require me to renew my dock license for another 5 years if I elect to do so. Okay, so it's my choice. I can claim the existing license that I have now, or I can be skeptical of waiting to another 5 years from an email of a state employee without a formal letter from the state. Okay, in 2019, Governor Baker signed, and some confusion that exists, is the simplified application used to be the simplest application to get a dock license. Now there's the one like Mr. Abdow filed for, that is one that's available as a general waterways license that was signed by the governor to overcome all of the challenges that every lake in every county of the state deals with. So if you have a dock that's no wider than 4 feet, no more than 300 square feet in difference, you can apply for that general permit. Most consultants don't understand the difference. They think that the simple application that used to exist Didn't have to be filed, but anyways, my point is someone can claim that license in Franklin County as a general permit if their dock meets certain provisions. That was signed by the governor. It's available to every resident that's in Franklin County on any great pond in Franklin County. Can do the same thing in the Berkshires. It was to make consistency, to try to help bring things that weren't in compliance into compliance with state regulation. Okay, so on that matter, I have a simplified license, which is a little bit more complicated to do, has some of the different things. And that is good for multiple boats. I even have a float off of it shown that was improved in my permit off of there, but I never installed it, but I could install that under the license that I have. Okay. So these waterways licenses and docks are a hell of a lot more complicated. And yes, I respect that the Conservation Commission has some jurisdiction over it. But there's a whole bunch of other state agencies that do as well at the state level. But ultimately, the waterways license, and what was shared with me from Miriam's discussions with the waterways and the feedback from the waterways program is that they are the authority for the enforcement or anything like that. It's not done at the local level. It's not through going through communication channels to the regional circuit right or a DEP who's responsible for the Wetlands Protection Act, Mark Stinson. So anyways, so I'm gonna be claiming my license for my dock that was permitted, stamped by me as a registered professional engineer over the next few months before it expires next year. The Conservation Commission can either be cooperative and follow this process because they really don't understand it. And I'll take them as a way through how you navigate this as a helpful benefit of information to them. So when other people start the need to permit things, they understand how it was done correctly. Okay. So that's what I wanted to bring up. Again, it's for the overall good of the lake residents and stuff. What's going on with all of this stuff is a bunch of nonsense.
So what you're saying is you're going to define the process that.
Yeah, it'd be helpful to the conservation so that they understand it, because when all of this garbage started, they didn't. They issued an order of condition. They put a condition in there. The consultants don't understand. If you hire a wildlife consultant for someone for the Wetlands Protection Act, anything to do with waterways licensing and stuff, that happens to be a level of my expertise.
All right, so,
Well, people can buck the system like that and not believe me. But I'm trying to be helpful, just like this committee's been helpful and people on it have been helpful involving dam issues.
So I think you have a great idea, and so when do you plan to start that process?
I already have.
So can you start writing?
And I don't need any, and to do this, to make it clear, I don't need any permission from the Conservation Commission to do it. Yeah.
I get it. So it's a question really.
It's a license that I own for 15 years.
Is this something that, process that other people can follow your example?
Yep.
And I think that would be helpful.
As long as their dock meets the criteria, and that's the thing, it's such a confusing thing for an ordinary resident to go on, and probably even the Conservation Commission to follow the flow charts and everything that go out and go through, and you file this license, a WW024, do you file a simplified 0026, navigate through all this. If you have multiple structures, all of this. The reason why all of this stuff is going back and forth is because it's so darn confusing on the state part, but that's why the governor did what he did in 2019. If people had simple docks that are 90% of them around the lake that meet certain criteria, they can simply claim the general license that the governor signed. If you got into a more complicated license process for waterways, like I often do, I have to do plans that have to actually be signed by the governor.
Oh, so it sounds good, Jerry. Yeah. So if you can start defining, starting on it.
I've already started.
But if you start writing it up for.
Yeah. I don't have to write that. There's a process I just. I will once I will bring all of the paperwork, what I did for like the thing initially and share it with the committee?
I think it's more in the town, and I think it'd be really nice if we could find the process and then have it.
We are the advisory committee in the liaison between the Lake Red
Right.
Association in the town, but since this was brought to us and we've heard all of this as a town committee, that's why I'm willing to share it here at the LWAC level. I don't want to be I want to come up here, look at a pretty lake when I move up here as a resident and look out from my camp and stuff and not have 200 other people come knocking on my door. How do I fill out this license? So I'm willing to help people navigate and understand this based upon what I do. But, you know, but I'm not gonna have 200 different people knocking on my door.
That's absolutely not the intent.
Yeah, so I would rather, you know, I'll bring, as I go through this, I'll bring what I'm doing, I'll bring the letters and the things I've already received from the waterways so people can understand it.
And maybe what I'll do is I'll take what you do and flow chart it and so that.
Or I can just explain the flow chart to you, that I'll bring the flow chart and explain it to you. Because that's really, you gotta be able to know how to navigate that flow chart to determine which type of permit you should be filing for, and that's the confusion over Mr. Abda.
All right, that sounds good, Terry. Any other items that we want to cover? That we didn't anticipate. All right, well, thank you all. I appreciate you joining us. Our next meeting will be, I think it's April 15th, maybe, and so, we'll see you all then. So it's 3 weeks from now. Not unusual close. All right. Thank you all. Appreciate you. coming.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Hey.
I'm going back to cut and split firewood, which is a mindless activity that I love to do on the weekend.